Hello chess friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to have a look at a great game played by former world champion Garry Kasparov. And this game was played against Yusupov. It's a very strong opponent, of course. And as you can observe, black is actually a pawn up, white is a pawn down, but white has a lot of activity. His pieces are much more active, much more free. He has space advantage in the center and slightly on the king side. So, can Garry Kasparov monetize his advantage? Can he use it before it disappears? Of course, white's advantage is very temporary. Black would like to exchange pair of rooks. In fact, he'd like to exchange both the rooks, and after that, it will be easier for black to play. Let's say that. So, white to play. Here's the move of the day. So I'm gonna set up the position and leave you with that for next 30 seconds. Alright, so I expect you to find the move knight to e4. Now that's a very strong move. It's a sacrifice. It's a piece sacrifice, a minor piece sacrifice. So what has it to do with the position? What's the idea? Basically, if you ignore the knight will actually show itself up on the f6 square. After which you can see will be this rooks will be attacked, and if you capture that, let's say, let me just give you an example. Something like this would actually be terrible because this rook has nowhere to go, and actually you would lose material. You can see all the squares are taken away, and that's why that is a big threat. Of course, you need to deal with that. And of course, black in the game, Yusupov captured the knight. Now, what was the entire point of sacrificing the knight? The idea was you want to liberate your position with the pawn move to f5. Basically, the entire point is to get towards black's king. Alright, so obviously this cannot be captured. If you capture this, that will soon be game over, right? Like this. So obviously you can't really capture it. In the game, rook to g5 was played. But let me show you what happens if black continues with its original plan of exchanging or trading rooks. So let's say rook takes g1, rook takes, rook to g7. The problem now is white can now play, because of his pawn on f5, he gets the move bishop to g6 check, followed by the pawn move to f6, and this is in fact very strong. The rook again has nowhere to go, all the squares are taken away, and engines are suggesting moves like 97, which actually are not doing great, because after takes, this is what we're going to have, followed by a brilliant rook sacrifice. And now there are multiple ways to end the game, but bishop g6 is the simplest one, after which you just win the queen. Alright, so basically if black goes with his natural plan of exchanging rooks, he will be in trouble thanks to this passed f pawn and the bishop taking control of the light squares. So that is quite a deadly combo. Obviously in the game, black played rook to g5, so he's trying to control the damage. He's trying to make sure that the queen does not appear on the f5 square. Alright, that's a defender. How would white play here? Just capture the defender. Takes, and now comes a strong move. Pawn to f6. So basically, was the knight sacrifice worth it? Definitely worth it, because look at what has happened. Obviously, we have got a pawn, passed pawn over here, but the thing is, that pawn is super powerful. He's dominating this bishop in the corner. He's dominating this rook over here, and with the combination of the bishop, the rook actually has nowhere to go. And if you try to defend that, let's say with rook to 8, now this did not happen in the game, but let's say you try to defend it. In fact, there are multiple ways to win. You don't even have to capture it. You should not actually. I think a simple method would be queen to e2. This comes up with the idea of capturing over here at the same time if you move the rook. Bishop f7. Now again, that's a threat at the same time. This is a wonderful threat of checkmate. So very strong position. In fact, black's pieces are kind of cut off because of this pawn. This piece is the queen and the knight are cut off. The pawn on f6 is such a wonderful attacking piece. So obviously after f6 he played king to h6. Again, it's a damage control. Now it's very simple. We just take the rook, threaten the queen. He takes back. Bishop to f7. Pawn to d6. Basically, black is trying to liberate his bishop and his knight over here. Both of them are totally out of the game. And meanwhile, before this happens, white needs to strike. And that's why rook to f1. protecting the bishop so that the queen can move pawn to g4, and now comes bishop takes on e6, smashing right when the iron is hot, and basically we are threatening the knight, of course. But the point is, if you take that, well, there are multiple threats, of course. You can also go queen f8, which is not bad. You're picking up a piece, but even better is queen h4, because this simply ends the game. Now in the game, king g7 was played, and this is where black resigned. Yusupov resigned over here. In fact, every other move was losing as well, but let me just show you what happens here. Rook to f6 attacks the queen. Queen has to move. But now a very simple sequence. It takes, and this is checkmate. Well, so what a move knight e4 was. Basically, what it gave us was this extremely powerful pawn on f6 with the combination of the bishop, with the combination of the rook and the queen shifting on the light squares. It was a totally deadly combo. So that was the move of the day. With I'm going to leave you with this position on the board, so you can have a look at this beautiful chess piece sacrifice.